Well, welcome everybody if you're watching. So what's the point of this? Well, it was about 3 or 4 months ago that I was speaking to a couple of individuals in the game, and they were trying to work out how to get their bubble patch working. They weren't really sure how to calculate the 25% obviously you needed to gain a bubble, and how to work out what would and what would not need to be put at the front of your base so that you could ensure that if a fleet was coming in, it wasn't just coming in to prep. If it was going to come in, it was going to come in and actually do a full hit rather than having two fleets coming in at once. So about 3 months ago, I spoke to the BP prof, Larry, bless him, and I asked him via email if he wouldn't mind me using his base bubble calculator, which he agreed to. Unfortunately though, I had to work away for a while, and I never actually got around to doing the stream, so I thought I'd give it a go now. So first of all, I think it's best to say that this is a terrible base. As you can see in front, it's just something I've made up quickly just to get the general concept of what it's all about. But you can see down at the front end here, situated right at the front, I put it really obvious. There's a warehouse there, and you can see from the center screen it's at level 14, which is the maximum, and I'll explain why that's there in a bit. Around it are obviously some of the water items there, the retrofit labs there, and obviously your shipyards there, and then the TAC lab as well. And there's a selection of turrets as well, various different levels, and then obviously your base guard, which is loitering in the entrance there, quite dangerously to be honest, but it's just an example. And there's a cluster of stuff in the middle, which is obviously the main component to your base. So the general conception is then you allow the stuff at the front to die of your entrance, and then that will create the 25% bubble, and from that, all the stuff in the middle then is still safe. And if they want to attack the stuff in the middle, they've got to go straight in to do so. With the same fleet, that's the general idea, rather than prepping the one fleet, letting it die, and then bringing a fresh fleet to start again, because the ideal concept is you've already been bubbled. So how do we go about doing that? Well, really, to be honest, the best thing to do is to go into your base planner, and looking at your base planner there we won't. That's how this base looks, and it's not the most perfect base by any stretch of imagination. In fact, I wouldn't even build it if it was offered to me. But the concept is it does show an example of a reasonable layout, splitting down the 25% and the remaining 75%. But how do you calculate one from the other? Well, that's actually quite straightforward. There's a really good tool for doing it, and that's what we're going to go through. So let's go. So I think the first thing to do is to identify what I'm going to use and how I'm going to calculate it. So from the BPFS then, basically I downloaded his Excel spreadsheet. I slightly changed some of the titles a little bit to marry up with the titles that Kix has decided to use. It's not what we tend to call them as the players, but in general terms it's actually what they're named of, obviously, once you're in the base planner itself, so it makes it a little bit more simplistic. So if we scroll down through the sheet, clearly then I've set this to the most basic base that you could possibly have, so it's set as if it was a brand new base if you were just starting the game, which is why the total health points, okay, the hit points, health points for the base is set so low. But as obviously we start bringing in the figures and facts of the base that I've just shown you, you will notice then that things will improve considerably, and the base health points will go up, or the hit points, health points. It's the same sort of concept. And I think it's probably best to start with explaining this sheet. So it's broken down into sections, as you can see there. Now, the totals for each section and the percentage that they're worth of the total base is indicated on the bottom line. So if we look at line 14 here, look, so all those buildings, which are the research buildings, and they'll come up with a sub unit percentage worth. Now obviously that percentage changes as a proportion as the level of each one of those items goes up. So if your tactical lab is level 1, at the moment, as far as we're concerned, we've built nothing. But if it's a tactical lab level 1, you can see at a base that's indicated there, look, all of a sudden that tactical lab is worth 14%, because actually the rest of it's worth nothing. So it's only 14% of the 20,000. So that's quite high. But obviously, as your OP level goes up and up and up, okay, so that drops off. So we'll set that back to 0 for the moment. So that's the research total. Next one's down. Then obviously we've got the operational area. So that's your output itself. You know, I mean, don't need to read them out. You can read them yourselves. You know, some points to note: things you can't upgrade, which won't change. The Great Hall being one of them, the radio tower, and the trading post. Now, simply because there's certain types of the fact that Bloodthirst is around. A lot of people have been getting rid of a lot of stuff in their base, and I have too. So I don't actually have a radio tower, and I don't have a trading post at the moment. So I put not applicable next to no those. They can only go to level 1 anyway. Same as the Great Hall, you can't upgrade that at all. But the remaining items have their own various levels, and obviously as you upgrade them, they're worth more as a percentage as you increase their capability. So that's the operational. That's the operational lot there, and then it goes down to the resources. Well, resources are basically warehouses, and everybody should know that you can go from level 1 once you've built it, right the way up to a level 14 one, until the next level of OP upgrade comes out. So there we go. That's the resources total for the warehouses, and the next thing is your res generators. Now, anybody that's got generators in their base, you know, especially if you're over level 50, you probably want to get rid of them, to be honest. Unless you have a specific role for each one of them, because you know, it only takes 20 hits of any type of building for the Bloodthirst to come up on these goddamn revenges, and they don't have to make a mess in your base once they get Bloodthirst. So you'll see in a moment there are actually none in the base that I've created. And the last group obviously is your turrets themselves. There's a maximum of 20 turrets if you're up to the OP8. From this one here, this base, I've only actually ever built 18. I don't need the other 2, or I don't feel I need the other 2 at the moment. And to be honest, you'll notice from the base calculator that I'm doing, it's taking a long time to get them upgraded. One thing I'll never do is start coining content in my base. I don't see the point in that. I'd rather just let somebody come and hit me, and they can give me a bubble, and I can just carry on playing. Not overly excited about the R&D time I lose. It's only a little bit. And I'm nearly at the end of that one already. So there we are. So the bottom of the sheet, it says there's the base total at the moment there. It shows a percentage of what I've itemized basically as 1s and 0s as it stands at the moment. You can see the percentage, and you can see the subunit percentage under each subheading there of what that area makes up as a percentage of the whole base as a whole. So go back across the columns at the top, because that's where I made. So all I named it was basically the building names themselves, what level they're going to apply to, their hit points, okay, the total percentage itself as an individual item, a subcategory item, and then spilling down to the bottom as a percentage of the base in total. And then obviously in the prepping, has that item been destroyed or not destroyed? And we'll go through how that's done in a moment. And then basically you'll see the HP calculator and their percentage in a moment. And as you can see at the top here, you know, this figure is automatically calculated. Larry's done a great job here, and actually it'll even indicate to you when your bubble has been created and how much of the percentage. Now we all know the target figure is 25%. So I think that's enough rambling for now. So how do we go about it? Well, there's some key information that we clearly need to put inside this spreadsheet, so it absolutely makes sense. And don't worry if you haven't got Excel, because there's an online version on BP Frost's website, which I will show you in a moment. Here we go. Here's the Frost's website, which you know I've always used as a reference tool amongst many other websites that are out there. There's no such thing as everyone knows everything, so you know, we all pull ideas and that sort of stuff just to make the game better. So as far as I'm concerned, you can see down here there's some links to you know, the Kixie site, to the crib, the guys at the crib obviously, the unofficial page, our page itself, the Sacred Council page, WIM's page itself, the Vortex guys, you know, Ouch's new little website, which is quite handy for timers and that sort of stuff, the wiki site, etc., and so on. But you know, so here we go. So there's a ship builder, okay, and there's, you know, there's some base survival times, that sort of stuff, and there's the base damage calculator, which is the online version if you choose to use So let's go back into the base and have a quick look. Where do we get to? Right, so as you can see, I'll just minimize that quickly. You can see there's a lot of stuff in there, and it's all sort of stacked in on top of itself. So I think the simplest way to work out is what you've got is, remember going back to that Excel spreadsheet, if you were to simply go down to click on the buildings themselves, and then just click stash all of a sudden it should disappear, which it does, and then obviously it sort of sits up in the top corner. Now what's quite handy is from there then you know exactly what you've got. So in the orders that we actually wrote them down, you can have a look at them. Like I said, we'll do that quickly. So we're going to start filling in the level numbers of these items here now, one section at a time. I color coded them myself. They're not color coded normally, but I've color coded them to keep it a little more simpler. So we're going to put in the level numbers based on what we find in our base planner. And what I've tended to do myself is I've actually printed off this spreadsheet so I can actually write the numbers down, or if you want to do it quickly you can copy the numbers in themselves, but or you can just jot it down on a bit of paper, you know, the levels of your turrets and the levels of your warehouse, etc. But to be honest, don't worry what's on a turret, it makes absolutely no difference. All we need to worry about is what the level is. So the first ones in are the research totals. So let's look at the research levels there, and here we go. So we basically should have the advanced lab. So we write down that one as level 11, the Intel lab at level 11 itself, and basically go down through all those different things there. You can see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items there, and there are 6 items in the spreadsheet. So if you get all those levels written down, they're not all maximum. They don't necessarily need to be. It depends on what you do in your base. Which is fine. So that's the research items on the base. The next we'll look at the operation items themselves. So I mean, clearly you can see outposts at outpost 8, the shipyards at level 3, the docks at level 12, war academies at level 14, etc., etc. So write those down. And we'll go through the calculator in a moment, and I'll show you exactly on the spreadsheet how much difference it makes when you go up and down a level, which is, for some items it's surprising, for some items it makes absolutely hardly any difference whatsoever, but it is great for fine-tuning things. So there we go, so that's the operational stuff. Next we're going to, like I said, resources themselves. And to be honest, you'll notice now straight away, this is also where your res generators come in, but you'll notice from the picture as I showed you a moment ago, I don't actually have any, so I've there are none to view. I've deleted every single one and there's none to view. So put all the warehouses there, and there's one at level 14. So we'll jot those down on a bit of paper. And then the last thing, obviously, is our turrets themselves. So we go into defense for that then, and then we go defense platforms. Walls are irrelevant. Don't worry about walls. Doesn't matter what level the wall is. It has absolutely no impact on your bubble. So defense platforms there. And what you need to do for this one then is obviously scroll down through each of the defense platforms and just put your cursor over the top of it, and then it'll kick out. So there you go, there's a level 6 one there, another level 6 one there, and it's quite fortunate in this base that you'll notice then there are 3 level 5 ones there. It's irrelevant what's on just look for the turret number itself. So it's the level of the turret, it doesn't matter what you fitted onto it, it doesn't matter if it's got any specials on it or not, or any extra armor, that's not the point. It just takes longer to die, or it can hit back harder. It doesn't matter for the percentage. So as you can see there, if you totted all those numbers up there, basically you'll see 15 different turrets there. Well, 15 different slots, and then that's obviously 16, 17, 18. So I've got 18 in total out of the possible 20 with a level 8 OP. Like I said, I've already written this down, so to be honest, I don't need to worry about jotting them down. I've got them all, and we'll put them in a second. Don't worry about patrol ships, they're irrelevant, that sort of stuff. So the last 2 bits really don't matter. Okay, that's it. So that's the base at the moment. And you don't have to do anything extra now, to be honest. All you need to do now is you can just load up your base again, and there you go, just that load there. There we go, it's back again, that's fine. Like I said, this is just a bluff base, to be honest. So what we'll do is we'll flip across to the spreadsheet, And here we are. Right, so we can start inputting these figures now. It's only certain items we need to put in. So under the level column there, so we're looking for the first thing in the chart, which is the lab itself. So that's level 11. We'll go down. The naval is also 11. So we just keep jotting them down. And you notice how the percentages have changed now all of a sudden. Ignore the percentages for the moment, because they don't really count. It's not until we get to the bottom of the table that it makes a difference. Okay, but obviously the hit points are relevant, so you can see that each one of those they don't actually have many hit points. So that's that subtotal at the moment. So that's the total amount of hit points for that sub-department there. So let's move up. And what's the jump now? What's up in the outpost? There. What a difference. At the moment, I clearly haven't updated the turrets yet, but as it stands at the moment, that would equate to 94% of the base as it stands now. So Great Hall, like I said, you can't update the Great Hall, you can't update the radio tower, and I've taken it out of it personally, and the trading tower. There's now a shortcut link to it anyway in the top corner. However, the launch pad, I've done that, so let's have a look at the difference between level 1 and a level 5 launch pad. So it goes from 450 hit points to 4,200. Still a huge amount when you look at it compared to the outpost. The shipyard itself is on level 3. The dock itself is on a level 12 dock. And the War Academy itself is on level 14. Okay. So look at that, that's not, as it stands at the moment, if I had no turrets obviously, and warehouses, that would account for 95 or nearly 96% of the base. But I have got some warehouses. Now what I personally do myself is I put the warehouse, the highest number at the top, and I do the same for the turrets, because obviously they're just generic warehouses and generic numbers, 1 to 20 if you've got 20. Whereas up in the top 2 sectors it's individual buildings. So we saw then right at the front there was level 14, and the remainder were level 13s. And there we go. Now, if you obviously have any, res generators, that sort of stuff, then you would put them in. But I'll come back to that. In fact, I want to show you the difference between having them and not having them. They're really there for fine tuning. But obviously, just bear in mind, like I said, with Bloodthirst, every one you've got in there and they destroy, that's one less out of the 20 they've got to hit to get the Bloodthirst up. So now we're on to the turrets themselves. I've got a different sheet of paper for that. So when I ran through this before I started the stream, I calculated that basically there was 4 level 7 turrets, and I think there was 7 level 6. Okay, so that's down to you. Down to tower number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another 1. 7, yeah, down to turret 11. And there should be, the remainder are all level 5 turrets, down as far as turret 18. And there we go. Okay. So that's the difference now. So remember we said that OP was at 90% and that sort of stuff. If we scroll back up now and find the OP now is dropped right down considerably, hasn't it, to 25.4%. Well, part of that is because of the level 14 warehouse, which actually takes up 14% of its own base, of the base itself. And also the fact that, we've calculated in some level 7 turrets. There they are, look, each one of those is almost 10%, so, there's almost 40% there just in turrets. So you can get the picture now that where you base those in the base, where you position them in the base, has a big impact on the outcome of the bubble patch itself. So clearly that's it for the moment. That's all our information in. We haven't gone to destroy or not destroy, and obviously nothing's changed. So, but our information's in. So what I suggest you do from there then, if you are downloading using offline, is I would save that. Just press the save button, and then obviously if you make any mistakes, you can go back to where that is now. It is worth rechecking your numbers, obviously, because obviously you don't put them in correctly, and then obviously you set your base up and you think you've got it sorted, you'll disappear overnight, and then someone, typically as they always do, you know, your nighttime is their daytime, and they come and absolutely annihilate you. So let's look at the actual things that you want to get hit now, and what's the impact of that. Right, here we are. We're back to the base planner itself. Now there are two ways of doing it. You can do one of two things. You can itemize each item that's at the front from the side list again, or what I just simply do is, yet again on the bit of paper I wrote down, we're concentrating on two areas, and this is why I've set this base up like this. Everything behind the base fleet I want to keep alive, including the dock ideally. It should be okay there. It's on the borderline, isn't it? It should be okay. Everything below the fleet, we're happy to die. And you can see in there that actually there's some various different turrets and that sort of stuff. There's a few, you know, and various different things in front, including that level 14 warehouse, which is absolutely key for this base. So what you do basically is you find the area that's important to you, which for me is left and right, obviously, the channel, that sort of stuff, and then basically you put a tick on your printed off sheet or your piece of paper against everything that you want to include in your base bubble. So everything you can see virtually in the picture now is free to hit as far as I'm concerned. In fact, it probably needs to be hit, because if it doesn't hit, it's not going to get a bubble. So you can see up here that there's a level 6 turret there, there's a level 6 turret there, there's another one there, there's a level 5, a level 5, a level 5, a level 6, and a level 6 again. And then obviously you've got the water features at the front then, as we spoke about before, and then there's that one warehouse. One word of warning, obviously, as you upgrade a turret at the front, you know, you need something corresponding at the back. So if you're doing a level 7 at the front, do a level 7 at the back, and vice versa. If you're not doing it that way, you do a level 7 at the back before you do a level 7 at the front, and clearly your percentage in the center there is going to be greater than the 25% to create a bubble at the front end, and you won't get a bubble. So whilst it'll be a little imbalanced, it is definitely worth doing the front end first and the back end second. And honestly, if you are content with your turrets as they are, then maybe you might consider upgrading one of your warehouses instead, because that's also another way of doing it. I've seen plenty of people, Gadget for example, who just use warehouses at the front, a couple of them, and that is their bubble pad. Whereas this is just a trial and error. So, okay, let's go back to put those into the chart and let's see the difference and see what happens then. So here we are, we're back again. So let me start back at the beginning and get my bits of paper. So out of the research items there was only really two things at the front, wasn't there? It was the retrofit lab and the tac lab. So here we go, destroyed or not destroyed. So we click in the destroyed, and this is actually a drop-down box this time, which it is on the website as well. And that has been very helpful, because it's actually an auto-calculated sum, so it saves you doing any work at all. So I'm just saying yes, that got destroyed. We're assuming we've had a hit, we're assuming all those things at the front end have been blasted away. So there we go. So even though that's 4,450 points, look, it's only representative of 0.2% of the whole base total. And there we go, look, so it didn't do a great deal towards our bubble, did it, to be honest? However, it's one item, and it's the sort of things you can use to move around inside your base or outside your base to do your fine tuning. Next thing is going to be the tactical lab itself. That needs to be destroyed. And there you go, so all those labs then, you know, that's it. A total as a percentage of the bubble, and a total as a percentage of the 100% of the base as well. And as you can see, look, it still says no bubble up in this area here, and the total base destroyed then is 0.3, which is indicated by the column here on the right hand side. This is the indication of our bubble. So that's it at the moment. Okay, so we've done that one there. Now going back down then through the operational areas, and we did actually say there was something also there as well, which was going to be the shipyard. You know, you might wonder if it's worth having the shipyard to die. You know, because obviously nothing's going to continue building on. There's nothing. Some people protect it, some people don't. It just depends. There you go. So the shipyard's worth a little bit more. It's not a huge amount more, but it is worth a little bit more. And then you can see that total destroyed now has gone up to 0.5%. which absolutely proves the point that all those buildings, in the top two sectors, apart from the outpost itself, really don't have that much impact. So where you jot them around your base, some people dot them around the outside and the outer ring and just randomly plant them anywhere. It proves the fact it doesn't really matter. However, when we get down to our resources warehouses, this makes quite a difference. So as you see, I'm going to pick on this level 14 warehouse here, and total representation there, 14.2% of the total base itself. And there we go. So instantly, and that's gone up considerably. So that was, the hit points of 41,000. Sorry, 15,000. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see that we're now at 14.76%. So it's starting to carry quite nicely. Okay, so that's up there. Like I said, there are absolutely no raised gens at all. None of the different groups at all. I haven't got a single one left. So they're all going to stay at 0. So all we're left to do for this particular base is just then to calculate the turrets. And like I said, there's only 18 out of the 20, and there are only 4 that are 7 at level 7. Now in this one, as I've set it up, none of the level 7s, I'll put them all towards the centre so they can survive and blast at things as they come in. Some people tend to put them at the front and try to get them to do as much damage as they can. It's up to each individual. So this isn't a real base, this is just one I've picked up. However, when I totted up those front ones there, as far as I'm concerned, from the level 6s, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that had died. So we'll say yes to that, and yes to that one, and yes to that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and yes to that one. Now scrub it in, we're getting very close now, aren't we? Look at that. As a percentage, we're right teetering. But we can't stop there because obviously that's just not enough. It's not acceptable, but we're definitely getting there. And then we had 3 of the level 5 turrets as well. So we'll scroll down to here, level 5, there goes 1. Well, you can actually take some away if you wanted to. So I want to make sure they commit, or they may miss one. That's the point. Is not exactly 25% because they may miss something and just go, oh, that's enough. I don't want to go any further. But there we go. So that's 26.12%. And what's fortunate about this is if you scroll back up to the top, look straight away, you should get, there we go, the good old bubble symbols come up, which is nice and handy. So that's some good work there from Larry, and it makes things a lot simpler. Total base destroyed, yeah, again, it's recalculated there for you. It's 26.1, which is great news, and it's definitely going to create you a bubble. So there you go, you're safe. That person now has either got to absolutely annihilate your base, or if they extract, then you're going to get a bubble and a chance to repair. And to be honest, I mean, if we look back at the base, in all honesty, what damage have they done? Some very light turrets at the front, which aren't really going to do anything. But the good news is, everything that you wanted, you can rotate some things around if you want to. You could put your naval lab out the front if you didn't really want to be using it, and then you can, put your water feature back inside instead, because the percentage is virtually the same. Your dock is quite safe. It's almost the last thing to get hit, so you've got to get through all those, those defense platforms at the front there, which are all backed up. You can put, if you wanted to, some extra fire support and all these things around here. It won't make any difference on the percentage, but it'll certainly make a difference in the impact of those turrets themselves. So that's it, basically. It's pretty simple to do, and it'll work for absolutely any base. So it's sneaky, maybe having a tiger shark in the middle. I just thought it was a bit of fun. That's the bubble patch itself. That's all before the ships themselves, so they should still be fighting and ready to go. And if the person wants to continue, they've got to get through the ships, and obviously then try and attack that centre zone as well. Good. That's it. Like I say, a bit short stream. There's no need to rabbit it on too much, to be honest. Prof to the prof, I'll give it its dues, and I promised him I would when I asked him quite some time ago now that I would help promote his page as well. Like I said, It's a really good ideas club, and that goes across all the web pages as far as I'm concerned, that promote Battle Pirates and try to work out exactly what kicks you're up to at the time. So that one came from the prof, so Larry, thank you very much, and thanks for saying yes and letting me use it. I just thought I'd quickly push you quickly past, for those that are still watching, the Forsaken Council website, which as you can see is forsakencouncil.co.uk, and on here Andrew, who's our man that can do anything, basically he's created this website himself, and content from the whole community gets focused into one area here. It's one of many sites obviously, and good for Larry, he's obviously advertised it as well for us, but some examples that you can click on the links and you'll pick up the previous shows and that sort of stuff, and they pop. So any of the TFC live shows that have gone on, you can, rather than try and find them on Facebook, here they are, all in date order and that sort of stuff, going right back to the beginning. Some of the screen captures are quite amusing, I must admit. Helps and tips, which is really good area and that sort of stuff. And here's the latest edition that we've just started to work on now. So if you're not really sure about, somebody types something in comms and you're like, what does that mean? I don't quite understand it. I don't want to make myself look stupid and that sort of stuff. Well, there's absolutely no requirement. These aren't Kixie terms. These are the player terms. So, and they will adapt. It's a bit like a bit of a slang dictionary, to be honest. So if you if you see somebody type something, I really don't get what that means, that sort of stuff. Well, here's an example of some of the items broken down, and there's, like I say, there's a subdirection at the top you can jump to, so the armor and that sort of stuff. There we go. Look, AA for ablative and that sort of stuff. TIT for titanium and those sort of things. So there we go. A nice one that's quite handy at the moment, and well done to Andrew for this one, because it did actually help me as well considerably. And I consider myself an end player, really, to be honest, an end level player. But every single one of the R&Ds and what you've got to achieve, even though it is a little bit temperamental at the moment, I have to agree, it is here. Exactly what you need to get, how you need to get it, how long it takes, and how much uranium it takes. You can see, I'll go back to the top, there you go, the time segment, the uranium, the actual reward itself, and the objective and its level. So he's done some fantastic work on that. I'll just show you a couple of other things as well. The infamous foundry. Yeah, there's a few people that aren't too happy with the foundry, I know, and that sort of stuff. It seems to become one of the biggest chores in the game now, doesn't it? But there we go, look, so each one of the tiers for each one of the ships, and there we go, and obviously the gaps in tier 5 and tier 6, it's always a work in progress as ever, and as they come online, Andrew will be updating these. So, we're doing okay. So there's the garrison fleets. I mean, you don't have to scroll down, he's put hyperlinks to each one of them, so you click the siege and it'll just jump there, and it'll tell you what you need to hit and that sort of stuff. So it's quite a handy little page and that sort of stuff. And it's also got community stuff on it as well. So anybody's got a build that seems to be doing quite well, and they're happy for us to post it and that sort of stuff. And there we are. There's all the different links and that sort of stuff. So if you've got assault or skirmish, you click on the assault ships, look, and there we go. There's your pictures of all your hulls and that sort of stuff. And here we are then. So, and here's all those tutorials I was talking about. So, from various different players, it's not just the TFC crew. It can come from anybody. So, building tanks for counters, foundry tutorials, that sort of stuff. There's quite a bit in these sort of how-tos and that sort of stuff. And there we go. So the gantry and the mega hull and that sort of stuff. Defending against revenges as well. That was an excellent. That was Ren's the other day. That was really good. I watched that and I adjusted my base accordingly. So. We're not all professors. Even Larry, I'm sure, will admit to having a good look around and picking up ideas of other people. So there we go. So gantry parts and how to hit the 91s, 97s themselves. There's a good an early video for doing them. When it first came out. But that's an example anyway. So I hope that's helped. Okay, like I said, it was mostly about the base bubble clinic and that sort of stuff, and like I said, so that's the Forsaken Council website, which is forsakencouncil.co.uk. A nice simple one to find there, and it actually comes up on the very first page of Google when you type it into Google as well. So you just type in the Forsaken Council and it comes straight up. Like I said, I will Just say one last thanks to Larry, BP Prof. Obviously, have a scan over his as well. He does some great blogs and that sort of stuff. And generally, 2 or 3 days after things have come out, he really has a good. I know he's a very busy man at the moment. He's just got a new job as well. And we all work. I get there. We didn't work where we get our money from to play BP, but he does some good stuff on there as well. It's always good to have another person's perspective as well, which I do appreciate myself. And like I said, from his page, and if you want to, you can download this Excel spreadsheet, or you can use it online. Either way, and it's handy to have it sitting on your desktop and that stuff. So if you're about to do something to a turret, saved, it's fantastic. You can put the new number in that you wanted to. Let's just say, here's the classic example. If I was to change that now to if I change that to a level 14, and all of a sudden I don't have a bubble anymore. So one of those warehouses in the middle island, if I was to change that to a level 14, that's it. I've dropped down to 23%. So I'd have to do something at the front end. So it's as simple as that, really. So before you even think about doing something in your base, whether you're going to upgrade another turret, or whether you're going to, or in the process of upgrading another turret, if another turret's about to come from a level 6 to a level 7, and looking at the turrets, you can see the absolute difference, which is quite large, down there. From level 6 look to a level 7, it's considerable. Then maybe you want to bring one of your warehouses forward out the back end sort of stuff, and balance it up a little bit, because obviously there's quite a considerable percentage difference there, 6%. But you can counter that, with bringing a couple of your turrets forward and that sort of stuff. Your warehouses forward, and maybe some of your generators and that sort of stuff if you've got them. It's down to you. It's your base. You do what you want. Right. I hope I've been helpful. Stay tuned for next Tuesday's show. If you're obviously keen on looking on the TFC, there's always lots happening during the week, and look forward to the raid, because it's soon upon us, I have to say. Take care.